Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 15.4 to the public. This is available on all iOS 15 supported devices from the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus, SE, all the way up to the latest iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max. Now, if you're not seeing the update, just go to your settings, go down to General, then go to Software Update. You can check for an update there. If you're still not seeing it, turn off automatic updates and then check for a software update again, and you should see it there. Now, if you're a beta tester, this is actually the same version that you installed with iOS 15.4 RC, or release candidate. Apple decided to use the same version, so all you'll need to do is uninstall the beta profile and you'll have the final version already available, so you've just had it a little bit early. Now, this particular update is going to vary in size depending on what device you have and can be anywhere from a gigabyte all the way up to 5.25 gigabytes. Maybe you're on the betas, earlier betas, and you're transferring over to this, so it can vary greatly. It will install and then fix the storage later on. It doesn't go on top of the storage you already use for long term. So it actually modifies that storage and brings it back down after it's done processing in the background. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what's new. Along with this, Apple also released iPadOS 15.4, watchOS 8.5, tvOS, and HomePodOS 15.4, as well as macOS 12.3. All of those are available now. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then General, then About. You can see the build number is 19E241, and this particular update has a lot of changes and features and updates in it. So it's got some of the most significant updates since the initial iOS 15 release. Now, the first thing is this does have a modem update. So maybe you were having connectivity issues, whether that be with 4G or 5G. Hopefully this will resolve some of those issues for you. The first major feature they've updated is Face ID. So Face ID has now been updated on iPhone 12 and newer to allow you to use it with a mask, but without using an Apple Watch. So if you go into your settings, if you go down to Face ID and passcode, put in your passcode, you'll now see the option to turn on Face ID with a mask. You can also add a pair of glasses. So if you put a mask on, it will work instantly. So let me show you that. You can see I have a mask on now. If I lock the phone, pick it up and unlock it, it unlocks right away. So it works really quickly, no problem anymore, and it doesn't vibrate the watch since it's not using the watch to authenticate the biometrics. So that works again on iPhone 12 and newer. It's hard to say if they'll bring it to any other phones later on. iOS 15.4 also contains new wallpaper if you have one of the latest phones. So if you have a 13 Pro Max, you'll have the new wallpaper for the new green iPhones. So if you go into your settings and then under wallpaper, go to choose a new wallpaper, go to live, you'll see there's a new green color there. So if we go into green, it's a new green live wallpaper that we have. Also, there's another one here. You'll see for light and dark mode. So it's a new green wallpaper. Unfortunately, it is not on older devices. So you need to have one of the newer devices. I'm surprised we don't have some of them since there's a new iPhone SE as well that Apple announced, but we only have them on the latest devices, it seems. One small update is for those that don't have access to Wi-Fi, once you have 15.4, you can now download via cellular. Now this works in some countries already with 5G, but now it works on 4G and LTE everywhere, it seems. So it will give you the option to use cellular to download and install the update. You'll just hit the button, use cellular data, or don't use cellular data. And it says if you leave Wi-Fi, you can continue downloading using cellular data. Additional usage fees may apply. So it's great to see that added, as many people wanted that. The next feature they've added is universal control. This is something they introduced with the initial announcement of iOS 15, but we haven't seen it until now. That goes between an iPad and a Mac, or a couple Macs and an iPad, and allows you to use the same control across all of them. Let me show you how it works. Universal control allows us to control our Mac and another device, or up to 3 devices, using just the trackpad and keyboard from one device, or you can go back and forth. All you need to do is drag your mouse to the edge. You'll see it starts to push through, continue through, and that's it. Now you're in the other device and you can control it with the trackpad or mouse from one or the other. So again, I can go from the Magic Keyboard over to the Mac and control everything here. And there's actually an option to turn this on. It's on by default, but you go to Settings, General, and then AirPlay and Handoff on the iPad, and on the Mac, you go to your system preferences, then displays, and universal control. As long as you have both of those options on, you can then just set the devices next to each other, and you also have to be on the same iCloud account with Wi-Fi on and Bluetooth. So once you have those on, you can use them across different devices, and you can even drag and drop across devices. So if you want to drag and drop maybe a photo from one to the other, you'll see it carries from the Mac over to the iPad. You can put it in different folders or files and control it very simply. You can also use a third-party trackpad or maybe a Magic trackpad like this one or something else, and an external keyboard. So it's a really nice option to use. It's different than Sidecar in that it's not just another monitor, it's complete control of the device. If you have Apple's Magic Keyboard, you can now control brightness of the keyboard itself from Control Center. So with 15.4, you need to add it to the Control Center. You can find that under Settings and Control Center. Make sure you have keyboard brightness. Once you have that there, go back to your Control Center and you have the option. Now it is light sensitive, so you'll need to have the lights dimmed or off. So we'll turn off the lights here. We'll give it a moment. You'll see that it became active. And now I can control the brightness of the keyboard up and down. So this is really nice now that we have this option. Once I turn the lights back on, it goes away and we can no longer control it since it knows the ambient light is bright enough. So they've added that with iPadOS 15.4. They've also added a new feature that allows you to change the way the volume button works based on orientation of the iPad. So you can bring it up or down, and you'll see if I push the left one, the volume goes down. If I push the right, it goes up. If I change this to portrait mode, push up, it slides right, push down, it slides back or off, or brings the volume down. And so this is a new feature or an option that you can find under your settings and then sound with fixed position volume controls. You can turn it on or off. On is the traditional way. Off allows you to change the volume up or down based on orientation of the iPad. So it's a nice little feature they've added with iPadOS. Within iOS 15.4 are 37 new emoji. Apple does not actually pick what emoji go in here. They're just simply bringing it up to a standard that the Unicode Consortium comes up with. So there's actually a group of people that create the standard, and then Apple, Microsoft, Android, and things like that will update to add their own graphical version of it. So you can see there's a nest with eggs in it, an X-ray, some bubbles, a battery ID. You even have some different faces, such as a melting face down here and more. So that's been updated. There's a jar and a slide and a few other things as well. Now they've made a small graphical change as well when you connect your AirPods. So if we open up AirPods, these are AirPods 3, but it can be any version of them. You'll see they're very low on power, and the actual graphic and the text is larger. So you'll see not only the battery of the case, but the AirPods individually, and also the graphic is larger. It's a small change, but something they have updated. They've also updated SharePlay a little bit. It's easier to share within third-party apps, and the icon looks a little bit different. So if we go into maybe Fitness, go into Fitness Plus, give it just a moment here, and maybe we go down to a workout and then tap the three dots to share, you'll see the SharePlay icon has been updated and it's aligned properly where sometimes it wasn't earlier before, and now it looks better. So you have this option. This works in different apps that allow it, such as Spotify and more. There's also a new SharePlay icon within Music. Within Music, if we go to the share icon or the menu here and then share, you'll see that we have SharePlay with some new icons, as well as View Full Lyrics with some new icons as well. So they've been updated slightly, small changes, but again, it's nice to have SharePlay across third-party apps be a little bit easier as well. Now Siri gets an update also. So if we go into our settings and then we go down to Siri, so Siri and search, under Siri and search, we have the Siri voice. The traditional Siri voice is voice 4 under American. However, they've added voice 5 now. So let me turn this up so you can hear it. So we'll turn it up a bit. We'll tap on voice 5.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
So I'll play that one more time.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
So it's a new voice. I typically use the traditional one, and that has been updated as well. So a small change, but there's a new voice if you want to choose that one. Also, Siri can provide time and date information when you're offline on an iPhone XS, XR, iPhone 11, or newer. So without having an internet connection, they keep adding functionality where it can do that. So time and date information without that. Safari gets an update with translations. So you'll see I'm on Apple's French website, and if I tap on the two A's for the menu, I have the option to translate to English. Now they've added the option to translate to Italian and traditional Chinese. So they keep adding languages for translation, but you do have to have that set in settings for it to appear here. So you need alternate languages as well. Now within settings, we have an update for emergency SOS. So if we go back to emergency SOS, you can see here it says call with hold. This is now the default emergency SOS method. Prior to this, we could call with 5 presses. The option is still here, but they've changed it to make call with hold the main or default method. So it says if you press and hold the side and volume buttons, the emergency SOS slider appears. If you continue to hold them, a countdown begins and an alert sounds. When the countdown ends, iPhone calls emergency services. So that's just a nice little update that they've added here. Now, if you have an iPhone 13 Pro or Pro Max with ProMotion, it's gotten a little bit smoother, but it's easier for developers now to add that option within their own app. So with 15.4, you can expect to see more and more apps take better advantage of ProMotion. It's been a while and apparently was a bit difficult, and they didn't have complete control over it. Now with 15.4, that should be updated, so we should see that a lot more. Now we do have a new widget as well. So if we'll go to the iPhone 10 here, slide over, go all the way down, you'll see we have a new Apple Card or wallet widget. So this will show you the actual balance of your Apple Card or your wallet, and it's something you can add with 15.4. It's a small change, but it will show you your actual balance in real time if you want to see that. There's also an update to podcasts. So if we go over to the iPhone 13 Pro Max again, go into podcasts and maybe pick a podcast that has a bunch of different seasons. So we'll go down to, well, let's go to library, and this one here, Against the Odds, has seasons. So you have the option to switch between seasons if the developer or the creator of the podcast actually allows it. So they'll have to enable it, but you'll see season 1 through 12 here, and it just makes it a little bit easier to go through all the different podcasts and separate them. So it's a small update, but something they've added. You may also see a new splash screen the first time you go into podcasts, giving you this feature overview also. If we go into Magnifier, there's an update there. Within Magnifier, we have the option for camera. You'll see it took just a moment there. If we press and hold on camera, we now have 3 different options: auto, close-up, and front. So you can switch on the magnifier itself. Maybe you want to magnify something on the front-facing camera and zoom in. You can do that. Or you can even do close-up, which is macro, which is really nice. If you need to magnify something you're having a hard time seeing, you'll have that option now within the magnifier. So that's been updated. In the TV app options, there's a new option also. So if we go to TV under Settings, within Settings, if we go down to the bottom or close to the bottom, you'll see Up Next display. And if we tap on that, this is a new feature that allows you to change between still frame and poster art. So if we go into the TV app itself, we'll go into TV, give it just a moment here to load. There we go. You'll see here's the Lord of the Rings, and we have kind of an overview or whatever's going on in the video at the time. If we go back and change it to poster art, go back into it, this should change to the sort of the title screen or what you might see on a DVD box or when you purchase the movie overall. You can change it back and forth very easily. So again, to still frame, it's just a frame from the movie. It's a small change, but something they've updated. It also carries across to your Apple TV as well. If we go into the App Store, there's a new option there. So in the App Store, within the App Store, tap on your name or your ID in the upper right, and we now have notifications options. So if we go into notifications, we have the option for new features and updates or recommendations and offers. This is something we can turn on or off. They've added with 15.4. News gets an update also. This one's fairly small, but under News, under the Today view, we have new audio recommendations. So as we scroll down, if you have News Plus, keep going. Oftentimes you'll see some audio recommendations. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't, but you can see them here. So we have some audio recommendations, makes it a little bit easier to find those. And Apple says they've increased the enhanced discovery of audio content in the Today feed and also the audio tab. So they've just updated this a little bit. There's an update in shortcuts that I think a lot of people will appreciate. So if we go into this shortcut, I'll share with you here. We'll use this one. Let's go into this one, and you can see here we can get tags from reminders now. So that's one feature they've changed. So now we can search specific tags within reminders to get certain input from that to create within our shortcut. That's a new feature or update they've made in Shortcuts, but probably the best one they've added has to do with automation. Under automation, if you create a personal automation, and maybe you'll see this one's just very simple: when CarPlay connects, play music, or don't play music. But now we have the option to ask before running that we can turn off. So if we turn that off, it will pop up a little box that says don't ask before running. Whenever this automation is triggered, it will perform the action on your behalf without asking first. This is great because many of us don't care what the notification is. We just want it to run and play the automation. So for example here, just start playing music. Don't tell me. Just do it. So you'll see it ask before running, and then you'll also get an option to notify when run if you do want that notification. So you have some more granular controls there as well. If we go into settings, then notifications, then scheduled summary, if you're using that, where it says apps in summary, it now says weekly notification average. This used to be daily notification. So now it's showing us a weekly overview of this information. They've also updated keychain within settings. So if you use your iPhone to manage passwords, like many people do, if we go into passwords, I'll go into that and then go into a password I created for this video. You'll see here, I have a note. We now have the option to have a note within the password itself. So if we edit, and this is just a test password, again, like I said, so I can put this as a test password, put a note, it will sync across all devices if I need to remember something specific about this password. Also, passwords will now prompt you to enter a username. So maybe it's saving a password from a website. Sometimes before it would save just the password and then you wouldn't be able to remember the username. Now it will not let you save it without a username. So it's just something new they've updated in 15.4. Also, websites that support passkey sign-in, that's something that's been added, and that allows you to sign in with Face ID or Touch ID and authenticate on the iPhone instead of entering a password for a website in Safari. So the update has to be, or the website has to support the update, but once they enable that, it'll make it much easier to sign into websites. Find My gets some updates as well. So if you're using AirTags, this has been a little bit of a controversy lately with people maybe using them to track people like they shouldn't. Apple has updated some of the wording when you first add an AirTag. So you can see it here. It says the first time you add an AirTag to your device, it will say AirTag is intended solely to track items that belong to you. Using AirTag to track people without their consent is a crime in many regions around the world. AirTag is designed to be detected by victims and to enable law enforcement to request identifying information about the owner. So that has been updated with 15.4, and also they've added some features here where it just says precision finding, play a sound, notify when left behind, and you can view it in the app. So it gives you more information and more control over it in your Find My app. So if we go into Find My, there's some changes there. Under the Me tab or Me option in Find My, you now have options at the bottom where it says edit location name, but you now have customized Find My notifications and customized tracking notifications. You now have better granular control over those notifications specific to your device. So that's been updated, and they've changed it in settings also. Within settings under notifications, you used to have two sections for Find My. So if you go down to Find My, now we just have your typical Find My notifications, and then there's a new section. If we go all the way down to T, you'll see tracking notifications. We have notifications specific to tracking, and if we want to allow them, when we want to see them, and just like any other notification across iOS. So it's a small change, but an improvement for those that are concerned about maybe being tracked by an AirTag or having that placed nearby without you knowing about it. There's an update in Notes, and if we go into Notes and create a new note, tap on the camera icon. Under camera, we now have scan text. So they've broken this apart where it says choose photo or video, take photo or video, scan documents, and scan text. So it's a nice little change, and they've also brought this over to reminders. So if we go into reminders, tap on the reminder itself, and then tap the camera icon. These have some different icons, but the same sort of thing, where it says scan text, scan document, photo library, or take photo. So it's been updated just to clarify exactly what you want to do and maybe more quickly get into that. Within Mail, you can now set up custom domains if you're actually an iCloud Plus subscriber. So if you go into your settings, tap on your name, and once you tap on iCloud, you'll see here we have Hide My Email and iCloud Mail. So with iCloud Plus, you gain these options, and under iCloud Mail, we can create a custom domain now. So you'll see at the top, if we turn iCloud Mail on, we can create a custom domain, and it says with an iCloud Plus subscription, you can send and receive email using a custom domain. We now have that option with this version, but you do have to be an iCloud Plus subscriber. Within the Health app, If you're in the EU, Apple has added the ability for digital certificate support that allows you to download and store verifiable versions of your vaccination, lab results, and recovery records. This also carries across to Apple Wallet, where you'll have a digital certificate format. So it will be on your iPhone and your Apple Watch if you choose to add it there. So it's just in the EU. It may already be available in other countries as well. Now, in addition to the features I've already mentioned, you may see various splash screens across the OS when you go into the app for the first time. So you can see here's one for Notes. There's also some that you may see for Wallet as well as Find My. And if you do have Find My notifications turned on, this is what it looks like. So you'll see here's one where it had an AirPod Pro nearby. It says AirPods Pro detected. An AirPods Pro has been moving with you for a while. The owner can see its location. You can play a sound to find it. So that's the sort of notification you would see if you have one nearby that doesn't belong to you, and you're concerned maybe about an AirTag or even an AirPod being used to find your location. One thing Apple has not mentioned specifically in this update is Apple Pay using a credit card with the phone. That's something that's within the code. You can use a credit card in the future instead of maybe a square reader on the phone. You can just tap it to the back if you have that chip in there. Also, we don't have any information or additional news about Apple Digital ID, where you can use your phone or your Apple Watch to maybe go through a TSA checkpoint in an airport or just use it as your license overall. That's something that will be coming in the future and works on a state-by-state and country-by-country basis. So we'll probably hear more about that in the future, but right now it's not active. Within this update, Apple has resolved some issues as well. The first one has to do with maybe you're typing on the keyboard, you're putting in some numbers, maybe we'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prior to this update, it may automatically insert a period there by accident. That has been resolved. You should no longer see that. Also, within the Today view in News, sometimes articles, when you tap on the widget for it, so you'll see here's the widget for News, tap on one of them here, sometimes it wouldn't open the article directly. That has been resolved in this update. Apple has resolved an issue where some people may have not properly seen their photos and videos synced to iCloud Photo Library. So that's resolved in this update. Also, if you're using the speak screen accessibility feature, sometimes it would quit unexpectedly when you were in the Books app. So if you're within Books, sometimes it would just crash. Now it should work properly and no longer do that. Also, Live Listen may not turn off when it's switched off in the control center. So if you're using Live Listen, maybe you're using AirPods with it, Live Listen, I don't have it turned on here, but sometimes when you tried to turn it off in the control center, it just wouldn't turn off properly. That's been resolved. Aside from those resolved issues, Apple has not mentioned any other thing. So whether or not you were having the issue with the pink display issue, with maybe the phone freezing and then showing you a pink display, that does appear to be resolved, but they haven't mentioned it specifically. So I haven't heard from anybody recently that that's a problem. I did know it was a problem earlier in betas, maybe with beta 4 or beta 5, but with the final version, it does seem to be resolved. However, they haven't said so specifically. Also, the storage bug they haven't mentioned, but it does seem to be resolved. And the storage bug is when you go into iPhone storage and it doesn't load properly. It does seem to load properly now if you give it 30 seconds or so, and everything from iOS to system data will load also. So it does seem to be updated. Also, the music bug does appear to still be there. So when you're streaming music, sometimes it can use additional power and cause battery drain. That does seem to be there still, although Apple doesn't mention whether or not they've fixed it, but I have had someone report it to me that it does seem to be causing a problem still. In addition to the issues they've resolved, Apple has also added security updates, and Apple updates this website typically an hour or so after the update is released to the public. I'll leave a link to this in the description, but usually there's a bunch of security updates here as well, and that makes it a good reason to update. And so if you're wondering if you should install iOS 15.4, well, I definitely would just for security updates alone. However, this seems to be probably the most stable version when it comes to the betas and the final version that people have seen in a long time. Most people have told me it's really much, much better than the prior versions. So it seems to resolve a lot of issues and add quite a few features. As you've already seen, there's about 15 plus minutes of just features in this update. So quite a few changes and updates, and I would highly recommend installing this update. As far as overall battery life, well, it will take a few days to measure, so I'll cover that more in depth in a follow-up video, but battery in general has improved with this update, specifically over time when we went from different betas to the final version. So it seems to be pretty good. Today I have 2 hours and 40 minutes of screen on time, 5 hours and 24 minutes of screen off time, and I still haven't used a quarter of my battery. So it's doing much better than it was with previous betas and even previous versions. It definitely seems to be a bit better. As far as performance overall, even on the iPhone 6s Plus, one of the oldest devices that's still supported, scrolling and things seems to be what you would expect on this device. It's not super fast, but it's not any slower than it was before. You can see the general performance here as I just go through different screens and maybe scroll up and down. So if you go into different apps like music, like I said, it seems okay. It's not super fast, but it is as fast as what you would have before. Things like opening the camera, snapping a photo seems to be what it was prior to this update, and I really wouldn't expect it to change as far as performance overall. As far as future updates or anything else, well, iOS 15.5, of course, will be in the future, and then WWDC 2022 is expected in June, where we'll see iOS 16 and major changes with that update. That's what Apple does every year, and then they'll have a bunch of betas and then a final release, usually around September, when we have iPhone 14. So look forward to all of those, but don't expect any major changes until then, but this update had quite a few features and changes in it. So that's everything with iOS 15.4. Of course, that had a ton of features and changes in it, many more than most people probably expected. And of course, if I find any additional ones, I'll be sure to let you know in a separate video. If you find anything else, though, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And if you'd like to get your hands on the wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.